Howdy gamers. Accompanying me today is my good old pal Sleeping Kirby and this little angry octopus I won from a claw machine. Love her. Anyway, hi. Today we're going to be talking about Olive Garden and all the glory that comes with it. I wanted to give a quick disclaimer just about learning about jobs via YouTube videos. Every location is different, and where someone might have had an awful experience, one person might have the best. Just weigh in your options, weigh in your sources, because not all Olive Gardens are the same. The environment and the people there really makes a difference. Just wanted to talk about my experience and kind of give y'all some insight if you're wanting to apply there, kind of like what the hours are like, what training's like. Even though it's been a hot minute since I trained, it was actually in spring of 2021 that I started working there, and I worked there until about September 2021, and that's because I moved to Denton and it was just not practical for me to work on the weekends. Let's start with the interview process. Fun little quirk about the Olive Garden I worked at, and I'm not gonna say which one it was. Whenever there was an interviewee, it would take literally 30 minutes to an hour for the managers to sit down and talk with them, and it's not because the managers were busy, it's because they just, I don't know. I literally don't know, because I had some coworkers wait an hour to be interviewed for no reason. And luckily I only waited 20, but still that's kind of ridiculous. You scheduled this with me, bestie. And with that being said, I have no idea if that's how other Olive Gardens were, but just keep that in mind. I had 2 interviews in total. The first one was with the host manager at the time, and it went really well. I will say all my managers were really kind to me and they liked me a lot. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I did see that they didn't like some people, and then I noticed that they don't treat those people very well that they don't like. It was kind of awkward, but anyway, she liked me. That's my point. So we scheduled a second interview with the general manager. I had orientation the next week. It was 3 days. The first day was mainly videos. We just sat down in the back and kind of talked about everything. Orientation is paid, by the way. That reminds me, pay. I was at the time we were paid $10, but I think you got a raise on your 6-month anniversary. Whenever I was working there, the managers were talking about how in January of 2022, the wages would be raised to $11 an hour. So yeah, orientation was paid. I went through orientation with 2 other people, and they were really kind. Overall, pretty much everyone there was very kind. Orientation hours were honestly kind of long, just so you can get the gist of all the duties that you're gonna need to do. If you're a host, you're in charge of the bathrooms as well, so we kind of got a rundown of how to do that. At the time, we had to stand outside with an iPad to prevent the lobby being super packed, and that was hell because everyone was so angry. Let me tell y'all one little thing about Olive Garden. Everyone thinks it's the fanciest restaurant in the world, and a lot of people think they're very entitled, and that resulted in a lot of people yelling at us, and that's just something in probably every restaurant. It's just annoying. It made my time there pretty draining, honestly, because, and I don't want this to scare you out of applying, because like I said, the area and the people make a huge difference. The amount of people that yelled, full on yelled at these 16-year-olds, the amount of hosts that had to go to the bathroom and have a breakdown was unbelievable. I will say a big concern I had on my first day of orientation was, how the fuck am I gonna remember these table numbers? They're ingrained into my tiny little brain. You will remember them, and you'll remember them forever, actually. It's really daunting, but you'll have them memorized by the first week. My first shift kind of just felt like I was being thrown into the ocean, and it was wait, I'm not ready. And I wasn't ready, but you do get the hang of it. Let's talk about hours and breaks and shift times and stuff like that. Basically, you either open or you close. Pretty much. There's some exceptions. The opening shift started at 10:30, and a lot of times you're alone, and I mean, it's scary at first, but on super slow days you'll get used to it. I think the shortest shift I worked was 5 hours. The longest, probably 12. And can I tell y'all something? Can I tell y'all a little secret about Olive Garden? They don't give us breaks. Most of the time you're going to be working a 6-hour shift with no breaks, no time for food, literally just standing there for 6 hours. And it's really taxing on your body and on your mind, and it's a lot. The only time you get a break is if you're working a double shift. That means you open and then you work in the evenings as well. But there's a catch. If there's 2 doubles a day, which a lot of the time there are on weekends, so let's give a little example here. I'm a 10:30 and I'm a double as well, but my coworker Madison, she has a 12 o'clock shift and she's a double. Usually the one who got there first would leave first, but if I took a break and she didn't, she would leave before me, even though I've been there since 10:30. And that part was not fun because there was times where you really needed a break, but you couldn't because then you would have to close that night as well as open. And that was really tough. And with that being said, we were standing there like 6 to 10 hours without eating. It was really hard. I mean, that's the major downside, is that we don't get breaks. Hopefully, fingers fucking crossed, that they implement a better system to give their employees a fucking break. I worked like multiple double shifts without having a single break. I guess we can talk about benefits. So you have your employee discount, which I think was like 40%, 30%, honestly forgot. And you have that discount for any Darden companies. And that includes Red Lobster, Cheddar's, other things, and every shift you get a free super salad or a build your own pasta. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure if they're still doing this. I know it was implemented because of COVID, like benefit type things. Hopefully it's still around, because that was like our main source of food. You get paid weekly, which was really nice actually. There was a lot of tension in the restaurant, kind of at all times, whether that was with hosts and servers, or like servers and cooks, and then cooks for some reason and host. It was a lot. Especially when you're working with like people that make their living there, they work there full time. It's kind of tough because they look down on you and they start a lot of shit with you for some reason. I'll tell one story. There was this person named, nope, I almost just name dropped. There was this server in his 40s. He would like yell at us, full on have a fucking fit. One time this family came in like 5 minutes before closing. Oh, I feel so bad. But we had to seat, I was just name dropped again. We had to seat that server because our manager told us to. He literally came up to the host stand and punched the wall right next to the host head. Just a lot of shit like that went down. And of course, I'm praying to God that does not happen at every Olive Garden, but it happened at mine, and I'm just here to share my story. Here's the thing though, that kind of shit kind of made it interesting. That kind of shit made me crawling back for more, because I was like, what is this person gonna do to us today? It was kind of funny. Hosts kind of run the damn restaurant, to be honest. We have to make up quote times, strategically plan out where we're sitting that next person, and what makes the most sense, and what tables we can combine, and what servers can handle it. There was so much like mental shit that had to go on to be a host, but like you learn to do it, and you learn to almost enjoy it in a way. It was kind of like a puzzle. I'm sure other YouTube videos about like what it's like to be an Olive Garden host will give you more detail, but I just kind of wanted to give an overview of it. But as well as being a host, I also did bread shifts. Those shifts were exactly 4 hours. They were kind of really nice. Should I expose them? I'm gonna expose them. It's just like frozen breadstick. Throw them on a tray, pop them in the oven for 2 minutes, take them out, butter them up, salt them up, and that was it. And it was actually a nice change of scenery. So while those bread shifts were like a nice escape and you didn't have to talk to anyone, they did get pretty stressful, especially on busy nights. There was times where servers were like yelling at me because I didn't have the bread out. You have to be doing like 10 things at once. I have like burns on my arms from doing bread. It was tough, but it was overall not too bad. If you do bread, you get an extra $1 an hour. So whenever I did bread, I made $11 an hour instead of 10, but I only worked 4 hours instead of 5. So it just kind of canceled out. But like they'll ask you during orientation if this is something you're interested in. I would personally say yes. The shittiest parts were no breaks and being there till like midnight sometimes because people would come in 2 minutes before closing and demand to be seated. There was a lot of long nights there and early mornings and very stressful big parties. I will say at the beginning an 8 top was intimidating, but then towards the end of my time there was like 30 tops, 40 tops. It was kind of crazy, but we made it work. If you have like good teamwork, communication skills, you'll be a really good host. Would I do it again? No, but like did I enjoy my time there? For the most part, yes. Kind of like built up my confidence in a way because you just had to talk. Like there was no getting around it. You had to be up front and you had to have a conversation with these people. A lot of times it was pleasant and many more times it wasn't. But that just kind of added to the experience of being a host, in my opinion. I hope y'all enjoyed this and I hope y'all got a little more insight of what it's like to work here. If y'all like this video and want me to do like a whole Olive Garden story time just of like crazy weird shit that happened in the restaurant, let me know, because I kind of enjoyed this. Angry Octopus and Kirby says farewell. We'll see you next time.